You know, most professional footballers have that one defining story about the exact moment they left home, right? The tearful goodbye at the train station, the overstuffed suitcase, flying off to a foreign country. It's seen as this massive, necessary sacrifice to make it to the absolute top. But look at the story of young Phil Foden. You were looking at a guy who completely flipped that script. He never had that tearful goodbye. He didn't pack up for Real Madrid or Barcelona or Bayern Munich. Nope, he stayed exactly where he was born.
So, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the absolutely incredible story of the ultimate city boy, Phil Foden. And listen, this isn't just going to be some boring timeline of goals and trophies. Oh no, this is a real masterclass in extreme loyalty, unbelievable patience, and the massive success that happens when preparation meets opportunity. By staying home, Foden literally built the most decorated career of any English player in the modern era. So let's unpack exactly how he pulled it off.
Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, The Boy from Stockport, Humble Beginnings.
Foden was born back in the year 2000, growing up in a modest end-terrace house in Edgeley, Stockport. And crucially, that house was literally just 5 minutes away from Manchester City's training ground. But here's the fun part. It dropped him right into a fiercely divided household. His dad, Phil Sr., massive Manchester United fan. His mom, Claire, diehard City supporter. Now, in a divided house like that, someone's got to win, right? And well, Foden's lifelong, unwavering commitment to the blue side of Manchester proves his mom definitively won that argument. Mom won, Dad zero.
His family actually nicknamed him Ronnie Roundhead when he was a baby. But as he grew up, he honestly only cared about one single thing. As his mom perfectly summarized it, he was the cheapest kid ever. No video games, no action figures, no toys, just a football. That's it. He spent his early years just totally obsessed, honing this relentless joy for the game on the concrete pitches and local car parks near Edgeley Park. He didn't have to travel the world to find his club, because his club was about to find him, literally right on his doorstep.
Which brings us to Section 2, Waiting for the World, a rapid rise.
And his timeline brilliantly illustrates just how crazy his trajectory was. He was actually spotted by City Scouts during a primary school visit when he was just 4 years old. 4! From there, the milestones came impossibly fast. Flash forward to 2017, he's 17 years old, he goes to India, and he wins the Under-17 World Cup with England. He even scores twice in the final and takes home the Golden Ball as the best player of the entire tournament. So officially the greatest Under-17 player on the planet. And then, just weeks later, at exactly 17 years old and 192 days old, he makes his first team debut for Manchester City.
But the impact he made wasn't just on the fans in the stands. It was on one of the greatest minds in football history. During a 2017 preseason tour against Manchester United, a 17-year-old Foden steps onto the pitch and leaves his manager, Pep Guardiola, completely speechless. And you have to remember, Guardiola is the guy who developed Lionel Messi, Xavi, and Andres Iniesta. For a manager like that to say he literally doesn't have the words to describe a teenager from Stockport, I mean, wow. That isn't just a polite compliment. That is absolute awe.
But here is where the narrative shifts a bit. Section 3, The Invisible Struggle, Patience and Pressure.
Because look, breaking into the first team is one thing. Actually getting minutes on the pitch is a whole different ballgame. Foden found himself waiting behind absolute, undeniable legends of the game. We're talking David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Sergio Aguero. These aren't just your average teammates. They are the finest players of a generation. Naturally, the media constantly pressured him, questioning if Guardiola was ruining his potential and demanding he go out on loan. But you know what the hardest struggle for Foden was? It wasn't losing his club's faith, it was maintaining his own. He was playing super limited minutes year after year, but he refused to sulk. He just chose to put his head down and train harder.
Then came what was definitely the lowest, most humiliating public moment of his career. In September 2020, at age 20, he finally achieves his lifelong dream, making his senior England debut against Iceland. But just 48 hours later, he and Mason Greenwood were sent packing, sent home after breaching the strict COVID-19 team bubble. He totally owned up to the poor decision, as his public apology showed, but man, the tabloids still went absolutely wild and the social media pile-on was vicious. He had waited his entire life for that England debut, only to have it stripped away in an instant.
So the real question was, how do you respond when the whole country is watching you fail? Well, Foden's response was an absolute masterclass in resilience, and it basically broke down into 3 simple steps. Come back, work harder, say less. He didn't make any excuses. Instead, he went out and had his most productive season yet, racking up 50 appearances and 16 goals in that 2020-21 season. He completely earned Pep Guardiola's trust, so much so that he was officially chosen to step up and replace his departing idol, David Silva.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 4, Reaching the Peak,
A historic run. What's truly incredible about his ultimate triumph is the physical toll it actually took to get there. In March 2023, Foden had to undergo an emergency appendectomy, but he completely rushed his recovery just to make sure he could help City win the historic continental treble, capturing the Premier League, FA Cup, and Champions League all in a single season. I mean, really think about what this means. A lifelong fan, a kid who literally used to be a ball boy at the stadium, lifting the one ultimate prize that had eluded his boyhood club for their entire history. Just an amazing full-circle moment.
And if 2023 was all about team glory, well, the 2023/24 season was about total, absolute individual dominance. With Kevin De Bruyne suffering a long-term injury and Erling Haaland maybe not quite at his absolute peak, Manchester City desperately needed a leader. And Foden? He stepped right into that void and completely overwhelmed the league. He swept every single major individual award. He was voted the best by the journalists, the best by the club, and honestly, most impressively, he won the PFA Players Player of the Year, meaning he was voted the absolute best by his fellow professionals on the pitch.
So the crucial point here is captured perfectly by the number 100. During that insanely dominant season, Foden scored his 100th goal for Manchester City. Hitting that milestone in just 319 appearances, he became only the 20th player in the entire history of the club to actually achieve it. He wasn't just this great academy product anymore, you know? He was actively cementing himself as a bona fide club legend.
But as we know, every great story has an unresolved tension, and for Foden, it is without a doubt the national team. Can Foden be the player for England that he is for City? It's a really fascinating paradox. At City, everything is highly structured, perfectly tuned, and he absolutely thrives in it. But with England, well, despite reaching 2 Euro finals and a World Cup quarterfinal, the environment is just less controlled. It's more chaotic. And because of that, his form has sometimes faced criticism for being a bit inconsistent.
Which brings us to the concluding chapter of his hero's journey. Section 5, the final piece, World Cup 2026.
Now, despite all the massive accolades, he remains incredibly human. He openly admits that he still gets nervous, still gets butterflies in his stomach before games at City. And why is that? Because he knows he's carrying the weight of thousands of academy boys who desperately want to emulate his journey. He bears the standard for them. The fame, the money, it really hasn't changed the core of who he is.
And that grounded nature has directly led to a staggering number, 22. That is the total number of career trophies Phil Foden won before even turning 26 years old. 6 Premier Leagues, a Champions League, multiple domestic cups. It officially makes him the most decorated English outfield player of the Premier League era. He has literally won everything there is to win at the club level. It's almost hard to wrap your head around.
So, what is possibly left? The World Cup in 2026. Held over in North America, this tournament is setting up to be his ultimate stage. Word is that under Thomas Tuchel's system, England is designing a role specifically to harness Foden's incredible footballing brain, playing him centrally as a true free-roaming creative hub. With dynamic players like Bellingham and Saka providing the drive and pace around him, Foden is perfectly positioned to be the key that finally unlocks packed defenses on the biggest stage of all.
Which leaves us with one final, undeniable question. The city boy, the kid whose mom said he only ever wanted a football, the player who completely proved that you do not have to leave home to achieve greatness, well, he has well and truly conquered Manchester. But can he conquer the world in 2026? It's the one single trophy missing from his cabinet, and I, for one, cannot wait to see if he secures that final piece of his legacy. If you found this explainer insightful and you want more stories breaking down football's greatest journeys, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, keep learning.
You know, most